What if Coco Gauff's biggest weapon at the 2026 US Open isn't a new racket, a new tactic, or even her incredible speed, but a completely transformed serve? Face screaming in fear, Coco has openly acknowledged that her serve has been a major focus, and now she says the changes have made her feel more confident and less stressed on court. But here's the scary part for the rest of the WTA. What happens when one of the best returners in the world suddenly becomes much more reliable behind her first shot? The US Open is coming, and Coco Gauff may be arriving with a version of her game we haven't seen before. Coco Gauff is heading toward the 2026 US Open with something very important: belief in her serve. And that might sound like a small detail. It isn't. For Gauff, the serve has been one of the biggest areas of discussion surrounding her game over the past year. In 2025, she made the major decision to work with biomechanics specialist Gavin McMillan on her serve. The changes were difficult, and Gauff openly described the process as mentally exhausting during the 2025 US Open. But fast forward to 2026, and the story looks very different. Gauff has said that she has improved, particularly in the serve department, while making it clear that the work is still continuing. And that raises a huge question. Could this serve transformation be the missing piece that takes Coco from Grand Slam contender to US Open champion once again? Fire the problem Coco decided to fix. Let's go back to where this transformation really began. Gauff has always had enormous weapons. Her movement is exceptional. Her defensive skills are elite. Her forehand can generate tremendous pace. And perhaps most importantly, her return of serve can completely change a match. But there was always one area opponents could target: the serve. When the first serve wasn't working, the pressure could increase quickly. And when double faults appeared at important moments, Gauff sometimes had to fight her way out of trouble. That doesn't mean her serve was always bad. Far from it. But at the highest level of women's tennis, even a small weakness can become a huge target. So Coco made a bold decision. Instead of simply trying to survive with the serve she already had, she decided to improve it. Brain the big decision: rebuilding the serve. Working on a serve at the professional level isn't like changing a simple technique overnight. Players have repeated the same motion thousands and thousands of times. Muscle memory becomes extremely powerful. That's why changing something fundamental can be uncomfortable. And Gauff experienced exactly that. At the 2025 US Open, she explained that the serve overhaul was mentally exhausting, even while she continued trying to improve. But she didn't abandon the project. Instead, she continued working. And that patience could now be paying off. Police Garlight fast forward to 2026. Now we reach the most exciting part of the story. In 2026, Gauff has spoken positively about the progress she has made. At the National Bank Open in Toronto, she was asked about her serve and the improvements she had made during the clay and grass seasons. Her response was revealing. She said the serve was still a work in progress, but she believed she had improved and wanted to keep fine-tuning it. That's important, because Coco isn't claiming that the transformation is finished. She's saying something potentially more dangerous. It's getting better. And a player who already possesses elite returning, movement, and competitive toughness doesn't need a perfect serve. She needs a serve that is reliable enough to let the rest of her game take control. The confidence change. Perhaps the biggest transformation isn't even technical. It's mental. The Australian Open's official coverage noted that as 2026 progressed, Gauff's double faults had decreased while her serving confidence improved. She also said she was going for bigger serves and felt confident that she could hit different spots. Think about what that means. If Coco trusts her serve more, she can begin points with a completely different mindset. Instead of thinking, "I can't make a mistake here," she can think, "I'm going to attack." And that difference can be enormous. Why the serve matters so much for Gauff. Here's why this is particularly important for Coco. Imagine Gauff serving at a high level. She gets a solid first serve in. The opponent returns. And immediately, Coco is in control of the point. Now add her movement. Add her ability to defend. Add her improved aggression. And then add one of the best returning games in women's tennis. Suddenly, the opponent has almost nowhere to hide. That's the potential. The serve doesn't have to win every point. It simply has to stop giving opponents easy opportunities. Collision the return plus serve combination. This is where Coco could become especially dangerous. Most players have one major strength. For Coco, the return has long been one of her biggest weapons. If the serve becomes more dependable, her entire game can become more balanced. Think about the difference. Serve, more confidence. Return, elite weapon. Movement, world class. Defense, extremely difficult to break down. Athleticism, one of her defining qualities. And when those elements work together, you have a player who can put enormous pressure on opponents from the opening game. Why the US Open could be perfect timing. And then there is the location. New York, Arthur Ashe Stadium, American fans, and a tournament where COCO has already experienced the feeling of winning the title. Gauff is the 2023 US Open champion, so she knows exactly what it feels like to survive the pressure, perform on the biggest stage, and lift the trophy. That experience cannot be taught. And now she's returning to New York with another year of development behind her. The 2026 US Open begins on August 30th, making this final stretch of the hard court season especially important. So now I want to know what you think. Is COCO Gauff's improved serve the missing piece that could take her all the way at the 2026 US Open? Tennis fire, can she lift the trophy in New York again? Drop your prediction in the comments. And if you want to follow every COCO Gauff update, every US Open twist, and every major WTA storyline, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because COCO's transformation is happening right now. And if this new serve reaches its full potential, New York could be in for something very special.